Greetings, Earth enthusiasts. If you ever wondered about the incredible perspectives our planet has to offer from high above, you're in the right place. I am Dr. Clive Coetzee, and I'm thrilled to be your guide on this captivating journey into the world of remote sensing. Welcome. And please remember to like, subscribe to, and share this video. Thank you.
Continuing with our previous video tutorial 129, where we started exploring what we can do in GeoDA. And as I mentioned in that video tutorial, that our starting block, our beginning, our alpha is always Earth Engine. So we always start there, whether it's creating images, whether it's generating the data, whatever the case might be. We start there. But as I said, I like to also work in secondary or value-added programs, because there's a lot of things you can do in these programs that you not necessarily can do in Earth Engine, especially if you're not clued up on or proficient in coding, which I am. So one of those programs, as I said, is GeoDA. So we will continue working in GeoDA. And as I said, I found it very, very informative and very interesting to work in GeoDA. There's a lot of things that we can generate within GeoDA. So let's continue where we ended our previous video tutorial. And that is by importing this 5,000 or 4,930 point layers vector file within GeoDA, simply by just going the file and new and opening it, and it will display like this. And as I said, we have then immediately a couple of things that we can do. We can do themes on these on this map, where we generate information or we present the map based on different themes that we use on the attributes, etc., etc. And we also then spoke a little about the rates, which I think is very useful, and also the heat map that we do. And then obviously it's got a nice save function where we can generate very professional looking images or maps with the legends, etc., etc. So that's quite useful, and just simply by right clicking on any place on this open screen, you will find this pop-up window and you can choose from that. Okay, so that's nice. And as it, we can also right click on the legend window, and then some options that we can play around it. Okay, so that is for start that we can do. That is for start what we can do. Okay, as I said, there's our table formula, or not formula, our attribute table, where we have all the information. Now you cannot change the data in here. It's non-changeable. Oh, no, you can. Sorry, I don't want to do that. So you can change individual data. I'm not sure if you can add there's a calculator that you can do, add a variable, delete variables, edit variable properties, etc., etc. So there is a calculator that you can use. You can add a variable, delete a variable. So there's some things you can do on the attribute table, but in most cases, I leave it as is. I don't play around with it. Okay, so what in this particular video tutorial that we want to do is to talk a little bit about, I wouldn't say advanced graphs and statistics, but yeah, where if we right click, this is just themes and basic work that we can do in GeoDA. If we go to explore, then there's a little bit more advanced visualizations or illustrations that we can do. Now the first one is we can do an histogram. Okay, so let's use our normal one, and we just press OK, and there's our histogram. Okay, now if we click on any of these values, you see the nice part of it, it's very interactive. It's very, very interactive. So if we click on this particular point, it will highlight automatically all the points within our region of interest. Okay, so our histogram is interactive, or it's linked to the actual data itself, or the actual spatial points itself. So if we look at this outlier here, this is high ndvi values. There's about 400 of them, and these are located within these the mountainous areas. You can see that clearly. If we look at the lower, there's all of them. If we lower the lower ndvi values, we can identify them. So all of these illustrations or visualization are interactive with the actual data itself, which is very useful. So the vast majority of locations have an ndvi between 0.2 and 0.3. And it indicates where these locations are located. And you can see to some degree they are clustered. They're not randomly distributed. So that's the histogram that we can work on that. You see there, if we click on it, this one here, it says selected, there's 2,141. It's, if you look at it's bin 3, it's a value from 0.23 to a value of 0.31. There's 2,045 observations. It's 44% of the total amount of observations. So it also gives you a bit of statistics below in this column here, if this row there, if I take it away. So it's very useful information to work with. So that's basically you go to explore histogram. And we can do a box plot. Again, I'm going to keep it with my ndvi variable. So let's do a box plot. That's our standard box plot. Let's make it a little bit bigger. There it is. It gives you the minimum value, the maximum value, gives you quarter one, mean, and standard deviation. And again, if you're going to click on it, let's click on these values here. These values there. This is outliers. Okay, so anyway, so that's the value. The lowest value is 0.8. So let's see where that value is there. If we click on it, that's the lowest ndvi value there. It's lying right there. And let's see where the highest ndvi value is. Let's see if we can pinpoint that one there. And that's in the middle of this mountain. So the lowest is on this point here. The lowest is on this point here, which is within the town of Veldrift. That's the lowest ndvi value, that location there. As I said, the highest ndvi location is around there. These are locations that's average in the middle. Not average, mean locations. 0.3. If we click on that one there, yeah. So those are locations. Okay, so which is in that specific value there. Okay, so that's a box plot there. Gives some nice information with regards to the structure of our ndvi values. If we go explore, go to box plot. Okay, we've done box plot already. So we're going to go scatter plot. What shall we do here? Let's have a look at in the Mansky, our independent variable. Let's shop it around. Doesn't really matter. We're going to do the correlation between the actual ndvi and the predicted ndvi using the Mansky method. Let's click OK. And there it sits. We can make it a little bit bigger, not too much bigger. There it is. It gives you a value. There's 4,900 observations. The R squared is 0.84. Standard error t-stat. So it's, the R is statistically significant. The slope of the value. And the slope is also statistically significant. If I click on any of these numbers again, you can see there, if I click on it, that value there is this value there, corresponds to that value. There's an outlier here. Let's have a look, see where this outlier is. This is outlier here. So there's a significant mismatch or prediction error between the model itself and the actual. That's that value there. So we'll have to drill into that specific location to see what is unique on that location. Is it because there's a lot of water? Is it because it's an urban area? Is it a road? Whatever. Why is there this prediction error? You can see these values are, sorry, I don't know why it's doing this now. That value there is fairly close to the actual value. The predicted value is actually close. Let's have a look there. Come on. So those are a couple of values. That's actually okay. So when it's a couple of values, it does that. So let's make it a little bit bigger to see. Don't want. See, there's another outlier there. See, where's that outlier? That outlier is that one there. That was the lowest value itself. So we can then, as I said, our predicted value, our actual value. You can see those locations where the prediction and where the prediction error is small, and where the prediction error is fairly large. And we can do that with all of our predictors. So that's a scatter plot. Scatter plot matrix. Let's have a look what that one does. Let's put our ndvi and our Mansky ndvi. Let's do that. And yeah, so that gives you the slope of it. That's the ndvi and the Mansky, and then the ndvi and the ndvi itself. So these are the two that we're interested in. Similar to what we've presented before. Nothing much to it. That's Mansky to ndvi, and this ndvi to Mansky. This is the swapping of the x and the y. The rest are same. We go to explore bubble chart. Now we're starting to get a little bit bigger. So why don't we look at ndvi as our x variable? No, our ndvi should be our y variable. Our x variable should be, let's say, rain. Our bubble side should, let's do elevation. And then let's do the bubble color temperature. So that's basically our equation, our regression equation, or our model. So let's have a look and see how that looks. Okay, so that's, you see, every time you click on something, it will highlight the locations within our map. So if we go, that we can say that there's a lot of clustering happening around here. So this is our ndvi and our rain. You can see this. It looks like there's a positive relationship. If we had to put a trend line in here, it would look something like that. Remember the size of the bubbles were, which was the size of our bubbles again? Elevation, and the color were temperatures. The color were temperature. Okay, so we can go and obviously adjust the bubble size. We can do that. We can do it smaller. Something like that looks a little bit more, looks a little bit better, I think. And then we can save the image. We can change the colors. So if we click on that, where is that location? That's that 3 places there. Click on that, that's there. So that is, the color is purple, so that is temperature. Click on that one there. That is those locations. Okay, so that's a bubble chart. Difficult to interpret. It looks very nice, but a little bit more difficult to interpret. You can see the ndvi. Yeah. Okay, so that is bubble chart. So we're going to go 3D scatter plot. So again, let's look X, B, Y, and Z. Okay, so let's use same except the temperatures excluded. And that is how it looks. We can move this around by keeping your left in, left click, keeping that in, and then you can just move it around. That's your X, that's your Y. This is like a three-dimensional. We can move it around. Well, it doesn't really. Yeah, we can play around with it. Data point, etc., etc. So we can play around with it. It looks very nice, but it's a little bit more tricky to interpret. Okay, so let's close that, and then we're going to go parallel coordinate plot. This is fairly useful. ndvi, and let's do elevation. Press OK. Now this is, as I said, quite interesting. It gives you, let me just make it a bit smaller. It says that so it is elevation on this side and ndvi. So this is what it says is that's high ndvi, and that's linked to low elevation. Okay, so that's ndvi starting from the lowest level up to the highest level. And this is elevation starting from the lowest level, lowest elevation, to the highest, and it links the two values for each of those 4,903 locations. So that's a particular location. Okay, let's see. Okay, that's a particular location. Let's see if we can find it on our map. That's that location. So you'll see it is high ndvi and an average elevation. So let's have a look and see if we can see this one here, that one there. Let's see if we can click on that one. Okay, so this one is high elevation and low is ndvi. Yeah, so that is high elevation and low ndvi. So you'll see, get an understanding if it were all, how do I say, 90 degrees, then the higher the ndvi, the higher the elevation. But it does seem like, yeah, well, it does seem like the higher the innovation, the more, the higher the ndvi value, the higher the elevation. Except there's a couple that goes against this, where there's high elevation but low ndvi's. So that would be high elevation, low ndvi's. So that's a nice little, again, plot to visualize your data and the relationship with it. If we just start variable, let's go ndvi, groups and unselected group. Okay, so let's just select all. Okay, so that's not going to work. I don't think there's much selected. Period 1, run difference, different test. Yeah, that's not much of a muchness. And then conditional plot map. So let's go again, horizontal. Let's just click on that, and it gives you horizontal plot. Nothing much to that as well. So some useful stuff within the explore side of GeoDA. And again, it's just different ways of presenting the data and in relationships within the data. And as I said, can be useful. Clusters. Now, clusters is important. You can do a principal component analysis. Let's say we are looking, well, let's do that for a separate video, because that's it's something on its own. So we can do clusters here, and then we're going to do space. This is where this becomes quite interesting. Is calculating spatial characteristics, time. You can do editing, video editing, and things like this. And then there's the regression, where we're going to also look at that. But space and regression, to a large degree, as I said, some of the themes, especially when you're looking at connectivity here, and if you look in space and regression, then we're going to definitely have to work with weights, our weight manager. So GeoDA is quite a nice tool in generating weights, but So in terms of the explore, these are all related to the images or the buttons here. You see, those are all the okay, so that's cluster. So these buttons here, those all relate to the explore function. Okay, so and here we're going to go a cartogram. Let's see what that looks like. ndvi, where is it doing that? I don't know why I selected. Okay, so that's not working that properly. Let's go again, cartogram. Circle size, ndvi. Let's go line. There we go. Yep. For whatever reason, that one doesn't want to work. Anyway, there's your map movie that you can create. Variable. Let's go ndvi. Let's go, and so it will give you the values starting from the lowest and going to the highest. So that's quite neat as well. You can see that. You can increase the speed of it a little bit. So it becomes a little bit faster because there's 5,000 of them. We don't want to set for all 5,000 of them. So let's go maximum speed. So that's quite nice. So that gives you from the lowest to the highest. Let's move it just forward. Okay, so you can see how the ndvi value sort of opens up. Ascending order, cumulative. If it's untick it, will give one by one by one. We can loop it. You can do a descending order. This is quite a neat little display, especially when you do a presentation and you want to have an interactive type of presentation that's visually appealing. This is something nice, and it shows you how the ndvi values explode or sort of generates interesting visualizations. So that's quite neat to do. So that's the animation, and you can select any value, and it will, you just play around with what's available. So that's to a large degree the explore function. So you have the file function, you have the edit function, you have the tools function, weight manager, you have the table function, map function we've done, and explore function. As I said, the main use or what GeoDA is very, very useful for is the generation of weights. So the next video we're going to talk a little bit about the weight manager within GeoDA and all the options in terms of the different weight methods that we can generate within GeoDA, because the weight matrix is important in terms of allocating nearby values to a particular location. So how much of location X value must I include in my current location, etc., etc. So meaning what is the relationship between the neighbors? That's what the weight matrix is quite relevant and important to. So play around with the explore button. It creates some nice visualizations or illustrations. It makes it quite professional, and there's some nice information that you can present. So play around with it. There's some nice things there that's definitely of use. Okay, so that is working with the explore function within GeoDA. And I said what we're going to do next is we're going to work with the weight managers. So we're going to still work on that, and that will be in our next video tutorial. So be on the lookout for that one. Okay, so that is working with maps and the explore function. They sort of go hand in hand. But it's all about creating visual depictions or visual displays of my data and my locations. Yeah, so that's, as I said, very useful to have, and a very useful program to have in your arsenal. Okay, so thanks for joining me. As always, I appreciate your support, please keep on please keep on supporting me. It's highly appreciated. Please remember to like, subscribe, and share these videos. We need to get to the numbers. We need to keep the numbers up. We need to keep the numbers growing. And stay tuned for the next one. It will be on the channel very, very soon. And with that, I'll see you on the other side.